Welcome back to 396 Guitars. We're putting a neck on a Stratocaster for customer. He sourced out the neck and brought it to me. Let's get to work. I'm going to show you right away what we found. So this is the neck. It came brand new in the box. I'm not going to mention the name of the company that he bought it from, but they're well known, and I use them all the time, and they generally give really good service. But a couple of things right off the bat with this thing. First thing I want to do is get it straight. It's kind of in a back bow right now. And I don't want it in a back bow. I want it to be completely flat. I want it to be completely flat. That's not going to help me, but I can visibly see. Whenever you're starting with a brand new neck, you want it as flat as possible. I'm just going to give it the slightest little turn to put a little relief in it. Plus, I want to feel what's going on with this truss rod. Yeah, I like that. Okay. That should be nice and straight. Of course, once we put this on the guitar, if it makes it that far, because I want to show you, point out a few things that I found about this neck as soon as he gave it to me. Out came the camera as I pointed out the things that I found. And he started clicking away because sold as brand new. You can see that the nut slots have that dark graphite lube in it. Somebody had strings on it. And then when you turn it over and you look, it's already been drilled. And guess what? These two holes right here have been over drilled and dowel put in. When you buy a brand new neck, and this is, by the way, a US neck, not a MIM. Genuine Fender 57 Strat Natural. But it's been on a guitar already. I can even see some chafing right here on the corner. Somebody had this in a guitar already. There's scratches here, striations on the side where you can see where it was kind of pushed down into the neck pocket on the body. And as I said, a little chafing right there. So those three things tell me this was already put on a guitar, removed, and sent back to the vendor and for resale as a brand new neck. I don't know if we're going to be able to use it because, you know, somebody already drilled it. And if these holes don't line up exactly with the body that we're putting it on, then I'm not going to over drill and start over again. That's for certain, 100%. Just not going to do that. Very odd. 57 Strat and natural lacquer. Yeah, it's lacquered finish on the fretboard. It's a one piece, so it isn't a laminated board on the front, which I'm okay with that. One of my basses is like that. Let's get the guitar out. I'm going to pause briefly and I'm going to bring the guitar out here and we're going to take a look at that and see what's what. Okay, so yeah, we're back. Took the strings off. This is the guitar. I believe this to be a US made, but it doesn't say it on the back of the neck. I can't remember. I don't think it's a MIM. Truss rod's down here. Oops, if we get all the strings off. Now let's get this neck out and see. I'm just going to go to try and putting the other one on it. So follow along. Let's see what happens. Very rarely do you get where you know, every fit is a little bit different. I'm going to be really surprised if those other drill holes line up perfectly with this body. I have my doubts. And that's what this exercise is about. So let's get it off there and see what's what. Nice guitar. Love the color. I've done some work on this already. Restring, setup. I don't remember everything we did to it, but I'm certain it was some of that work. Certain of it. Beautiful. Okay, so miracles of miracles. This one actually has the same striations as the other one, or the same issue. And this is something I haven't seen before, I'm going to be quite honest with you. It appears as though this one also, it appears that it's been over drilled and dowel put in right there on those two. Not 100% certain. Very strange. I don't know what would cause, because it's not painted, unless there was some sort of manufacturing process that causes those two to not be stained, and that there's some sort of jig that they're putting them in when they're making them, because this one, it looks exactly the same. Exactly the same. And at first glance, without looking at it really close, I thought these were over drilled and dowel was put in there. There are no threads in the new one. So I take back what I said. This has not been on another guitar. But I'm telling you, usually when you get a new neck, these are not already drilled out. Usually you have to space it and do it yourself. But this puzzles me up here, where there's all kinds of stuff in the nut slots. Like a closer look, it might just be padding from the manufacturing process. Sawdust, as it were. Okay, I'm going to rescind what I originally said because my eyes are failing me and I'd never looked at it with the googly eyes. Must be something to do with the jig and the way that these things are manufactured. That those two, see these two holes, they actually have stain all the way around them. These two holes do not. That's just so odd to me. In fact, that one even has a red circle. And this one has, this is the one that we're putting on it. And this one is the one that came off. So very interesting. Odd. Odd. Okay. Let us proceed. Let us proceed. Are we going to use the same tuners? I'm hoping that they'll just be a direct fit. Let's find out. This is where I usually run into trouble, where some dumbass at the factory glued these in. So let's see if they come out. I don't know if I have a small socket for that. Do I? Nope. What can we do? What can we do? But I do have, what I do have, they're either in there super super, super tight, or somebody put a dollop of glue on them, and I hate when they do that, because the problem is when you're hammering them out, they tend to want to pull some of this finish away, and I don't like that. I'm gonna pause for a second. I want to see if I can get a little bit larger diameter punch that will kind of fill that up and grab the whole thing and press it at the same time. More equal. Stand by. Okay, so off camera I was able, they are not glued in the other neck. I was able to get one bushing out. I went and got a little bit larger flat nose punch and was able to coerce it out of there. They're just tightly fitted. I've gotten them where they're glued in and they should never be. Before we proceed with that, I want to, just for exercise and my own edification, as it were, we're gonna check this out without bolting it in there. You just take, these are the original holes, of course, in the body. You take a straight punch, small. And if they go all the way through into the neck, then that thing has been cut to match this exact body cut. So we got lucky there. And, I learned something new today, which I learned something new almost every day. Not afraid to admit it when I misspeak or make a mistake, but as it were, it's not really a mistake. It's just a learning experience. So I'm going to show you, we're going to move on to the next one. I'm going to show you just the next one. Then I'm going to pause while I get the rest of them out and the new ones and then transfer them over to the new neck. Just pull the screw out, pull the tuner out. And then this is the unsettling part. That little bushing right there has seated, and it's a double. There's a step down in the route right there. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but there's a step in there where this, when that bushing goes in, it stops right there. Plus, there's a lip on the top. It can't go anywhere. But this punch is almost exactly the right size. I still have to cock it sideways. And then the other side, and it usually will pop right out. This is my fear. Like, if we had to reuse this neck, and I really don't want to ruin this neck because I think it's still a good neck, but sometimes they chip out there, and that's not good, especially if the chip out doesn't get covered by the bushing. So that one's out. On to the next one. Get it in there. And they are snug, I can tell you that. Rubber mallet. Just let the weight of the hammer do the work. Don't ream on it and don't force it. But now that's in there and secure. The next tuner ready to accept. And you can only put one screw at a time on these because each successive screw grabs the next tuner, so there's one screw that holds two tuners. Like so. These are nice tuners too. Don't snug them all up, because as you tighten them, it tends to want to lift the other side of the tuner. Get them all in there and tighten them up evenly so that they all pull down nice and snug. Okay, I'm going to pause while I do the other four, and we'll come back, set the neck, and proceed with restring and setup with the new neck. We'll see how my guess was with the truss rod. Stand by. Okay, so far so good. We got all the tuners on, and they're operating nicely, and it was basically a direct fit, which I'm very pleased about. Next, I want to make sure that we're going to get this in there, get it started. It's not a super snug fit, but we know that the bolt holes line up. And I'm going to, at this juncture, just assume that Fender's manufacturing process, apples to apples, is going to be perfect. You follow? Get them down there where they start to hit the neck, and then just get one started. Don't put a power drill on these. You know, all I can do is assume that they did what they were supposed to and that the measurement is perfect. So far, everything seems to be working the way it should. Usually this process is finagling, clamping it onto the body, running some twine from the saddle to the nut, and tying it off, and getting your string spacing just right on the board, across the pull pieces of the pickups. And it's a trial and error, and keep, measure 100 times and drill and set once. But in this case, all I can do is go by what Fender has already done. And I have confidence based on what I've already learned here. Test fitting and putting the pick in there, and all the holes lined right up, and they're drawn up nicely. Yeah. Now let's make sure that it pulled up. I can tell you there's just a slight lip here. 4 thousandths. I don't know, you could go with a smaller one. There's a gap there. This side's tight. But the important one is back here. You do not want to be able to get under the neck, in between the neck and the body. That needs to be snug and secure. And it is. And I'm happy. And there, it looks nice on there, I gotta say. I don't mind the other one, but I can tell you this one seems to be a little bit higher quality. I think maybe the frets are a little bit larger. Of course, it's clear coated. It's a one piece. This has got the fretboard is laminated to it. This one's and they place the truss rod in there this way. When the board is off, then they glue it on. This one has a skunk stripe right there. That's where the truss rod is inserted and then covered with that skunk stripe. Pretty cool, pretty neat. I'm going to pause while I do the restring. I'm just going to come back and we're going to go over. I'm not going to show you the whole setup and the restring and stuff. Today's exercise was swapping the necks, swapping the tuners, making sure that everything fits correctly. When I get the strings on, I want to illustrate what I mean about string spacing, and that's going to tell the truth of whether or not Fender did the job right. But everything looks great so far. So stand by, I'll be right back. To follow up, I put the low E string and the high E string on, really, to check string spacing. That's really all you need. We've got good travel all the way up the neck. In other words, you have a good reveal on the bass side, and you have an equal reveal. It's a little, the high E is a little farther inboard, but that's kind of what you want. And also, our strings are going right over the pull pieces here. So all things being equal, as long as you do the high E and the low E and your string spacing is good and where it's going to be playable, and it is, absolutely perfect. It's right where I would put it if I was starting from scratch and having to mark and drill that neck. Then you can proceed. So, put the rest of the strings on, go with the setup, and all rules, the same rules apply as far as doing the restring and the setup. We're not going to show you that today. Today was really about getting the neck, the old one off, the new one on, changing out the tuners. I do still have to place and drill and put in the string tree, right? But that's it for today. You've seen enough of restrings and setups from me that we're not going to do this one. But we're going to have another restring and setup coming up on a vintage 50-year-old Les Paul that's coming up on the bench soon. The gentleman just bought it. He's very excited about it. I think it's a 79 or a 70-80 he said. And yeah. But today's exercise, we're done. I'll show you the whole steps on the other guitar, the next one to come up, right? I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your likes and shares. If you dig what I'm doing, please do like and subscribe. We'll talk soon.